So, Val, do you want to hear a ripper Uber story?
Here we go.
So, this is pretty. Well, it's a bit of no knowledge now. I do
Uber
a bit of,
taxis or
nah,
Uber Eats?
Uber Eats. So I jumped in the car a few weeks ago and thought, you know what, stuff it, man. I want to join in on the fun. I got a few of my mates that do Uber Eats, and they're like, come do it on a Friday, Saturday, Sunday, whatever it is. You know, we'll catch up for a coffee after 9 o'clock after the promos finish, and you know, it's just a night that you make a couple of $100, right? Pretty cool though. I got this story. So I end up having coffee with a mate of mine on O'Connell Street. And we finished there at about midnight or maybe 12:30, somewhere there. Anyway, so I jump in the car and I thought, you know what, I'll turn the meter on the way home. Not very far to go. And I get a job. And it's Cafe de Villiers. So I go past and I pick up this bag and I head to Edwardstown. And as I'm cruising through Raglan Avenue, which is the street between Marion Road and South Road, where the 100 Jacks is on the corner, there's this guy's address was literally on Raglan Avenue, and I'm cruising, and I'm doing about 50 k's. The car doesn't do any more than that I've got, and I see this car accelerate behind me pretty quickly, and I was like, oh, this could be a police car. So guess what? Red and blue lights go on. I get pulled over, and I sort of understand that now. It's about 1:15, and copper jumps out and looks at me, and I look at my Uber meter, because my Uber drop-off is only 35 metres away. And I was started to get a little bit, I guess, shaky about it, because I was like, this guy's going to come out and think, something's going on, with the coppers and whatnot anyway. And copper jumps out and he goes, just a bit of a random drug, alcohol testing, whatever. Yep, no worries. So, blowing the alcohol meter, whatever, comes up zero. He goes, what are you doing, mate, by the way? Just so, like, at this time of the morning. And instantly I thought of the Wog Boy scene, right? And I thought, don't say something stupid like that. You're not going to church at 1:15 in the morning. And I said to him, look, I'll be honest. I said, just Uber Eats, and I've got 35 metres to get to my destination drop-off. And as I say that, I see this guy come out the front of this factory, and I knew it was him, Anyway, and he started to get really rash, like really angry, right? And I was like looking at the copper, and the copper goes, no worries, mate, you have a good night, whatever. So I accelerate, 35 metres down the road. I'm too lazy to walk. And the coppers throw their lights on and they head off, obviously got another job. And as they're doing that, I approached the guy and I said, here, mate. I said, here's your order, hope you have a good night. He goes, oh, yeah, can you just wait with me for a second? I said, yeah, no worries, what's up? And as the coppers head down the road, they do this U-turn. They come flying past, and the bloke that I'm delivering to is like, starts screaming at the cop car, fuck you, you fucking dogs, trying to take my fucking chocky donut. And I said to him, tell me that's a chocolate donut that's in the bag. And he goes, yep. So I've done this whole delivery, for a chocolate donut at 1:15 in the morning, and he's thinking that the coppers are trying to take the donut from him. So,
oh no!
Yeah, how cool is that for a Uber Eats story? But anyway,
oh jeez, Uber Eats, mate. I ordered from Uber Eats a couple of weeks ago, right? From
don't say 100 Jacks.
No, fuck, come on, man. I'll walk there if I want Hungry Jack. No, look, I came home late from work, and I said to the wife, listen, don't cook. There's no point. I'm going to be late. Let's just Uber Eat something, right? Now, one of our go-to places is Saray.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Love Saray. Get the meat pack and the shish kebab pap.
Yeah.
Right? Anyway, so I said, let's get Uber Eats. So I order what we normally order, right? Yep. Really good. Meat, a little bit of that pilaf rice and some salad. Really good. Anyway, and the app updates, your order's been picked up by Rajachash or whatever his name was, which I'd be really interested to know what Villiers felt like when a white bloke came to pick up the food instead of an Indian. Anyway, so the food, gets picked up and it gets delivered to us.
Yeah.
I'm like, yep, great. I'm hungry. It's like, 7:30, 8 o'clock by now at night. And I went to the front door, picked up my my bag, and I held it. And I go, this just seems really light for 2 meat packs.
Yeah.
Very light for 2 meat packs.
Oh, no.
Anyway, I walked down the hallway. It was dark in the hallway. I went to the kitchen and I look at it and there's a name tag on there, Rachel. Right? And the name tag under Rachel says quarter chicken, fat chickens. Now, Fat Chickens is right across the road from Saray.
Of course.
So I'm thinking some fuckwit has picked up the wrong order.
Yeah.
And they've bought me. So there's a Rachel somewhere in the neighborhood who's just got 2 fucking meat packs from Saray. So I ring Saray up going, listen, I've just received this order, but it's not mine. And the app is saying that it's left your shop. So can I figure out what's going on? And they said, no, your order is still here, sir. Would you like us to, reorder it? Can you order it through the app? I go, I've just paid for it on the app. Why the fuck would I reorder it?
Yeah, yeah.
So I go, you know what? Fuck yes. I cancelled it and I got my money back and I ended up just going.
Eating a quarter chicken.
Well, the chicken was nice the next day. I did keep it in the fridge. So poor Rachel, fuck knows if Rachel even got any food wherever she was. But anyway, we've got a big program, a big pod tonight. I say program because I keep thinking I'm on the bloody radio. We've got a big pod tonight.
Yep.
The last day of July. Where the hell has the year gone already? But special guest. So what do you reckon? Should we get into it?
Let's do it.
This is Two Blokes in a Pod.
Hey, what is that?
The podcast where, well, it's a bit of this, a bit of that.
I don't understand.
Just blokey laughs and blokey chats.
Okay.
Whatever it is, let's get started.
Petros, like mentioned, we have a special guest on our pod this evening. Depending on what time of day people listen to our pod, but we're recording now, Monday night evening. And instead of watching the Matildas try and win their last game of the group, we're here recording because we're quite passionate about this.
We are, and I'm pretty excited too.
Absolutely. And look, so I'm going to introduce to you and to all our listeners the man who's about to come on, who I have known for a very, very long time.
Yep.
Up until recently, was the chief editor for Penthouse Australia, and I do believe he also dabbled in a bit of the American Penthouse as well.
Wow.
But very, very well known in the political sphere, especially here in South Australia. I'm going to introduce to you Damian Costas. G'day, Damian.
Yeah, mate. How are you?
Good, mate. Welcome back to the pod. And I say back because you were a pretty vital interviewee of my previous podcast, the Toilet Trash Project, where we pretty much opened up the mic to anything and everything. So I've got you on tonight because I love your brain and the way that you think, and I definitely love your opinions, which I haven't been able to see much of because you've been kicked off of Facebook.
Yeah, well, that's what happens when you've got an opinion. But I think you need to get out more because my brain's not that special, at least not as special as it used to be.
Not as special as it used to be. So tell us, what's been going on since we last spoke?
Well, you're quite correct. My contract came up as editor-in-chief of Penthouse after almost 10 years at the helm. And you're right, I was doing the US magazine as well from here, which was a little difficult during COVID. But we did a really good job, turning that around from a sort of a yesterday's magazine to something for the modern man. I after 10 years, doing the same thing over and over again, sometimes you just want to see change. COVID sort of brought some other opportunities into the sphere, and I just thought, you know what, I've done it long enough now, so we're just focusing on other things.
So during COVID, wouldn't the adult industry be a bit more thriving with publications and especially
well, you think so,
stuff?
You'd think so, but we took the magazine out of that world. It's one of the reasons I was able to turn it around. I mean, no one's going to pay for nude women, especially that sort of hardcore gynecological exploration that the magazine became in the 90s. We put the editorial back. We started addressing issues that were of interest to men. And it's interesting, the same issues were almost 35% of my readers were women.
Wow.
By the time I was done, which tells you a lot about where sort of that world is at. We put a lot of really interesting content, a lot of very strong opinions. Aside from probably Andrew Bolt, we were the only print publication, at least print publication, to support George Pell in what went down with all that. I thought that judgment in Victoria was an absolute disgrace. That would have been disastrous for not just men, but anyone who was very loosely accused of a crime that they couldn't prove. Had that prosecution been allowed to stand, and the minute it got to the High Court, certainly all the legal brains that I was talking to said, 7-0. There's no way this is going to get up. It's going to, he'll be fine, and he was in the end. But we had a really, really difficult time with that, with a lot of people sort of, berating us for our opinion. But that's what you do when you have an opinion, you express it.
See, and that's the thing with society that, they say that we live in a country where we're free to express our own opinion, but are we really free to express our own opinion when
no, you're not. I mean, no, you're not. I mean, Australia we don't have a Bill of Rights like they do in the United States. We have implied rights in our Constitution. I mean, the legal eagles will argue that that's better because you don't have loopy left-wing judges sort of making up common law or passing judgment on the interpretation of the Constitution, as they do in America. But at the same time, as you saw during COVID, if the government didn't like what you were saying, they just shut you down. There is a pros and cons in terms of what you're allowed to say and what you're not allowed to say, and how the government can effectively shut you down.
Absolutely.
The sad thing with Australia is, I was actually having this conversation with somebody else today.
Yeah.
When I was growing up, and I'm your age, as you know.
Yeah.
This was the lucky country. We weren't the land of opportunity like they used to call America. We were the lucky country, and we were lucky because we didn't have to worry about anything. We had plenty of everything, whether it was farmland, whether it was food security, whether it was energy, whether it was cheap coal to pull out of the ground to make electricity, whether it was, the only thing we ever argued about, certainly in Adelaide, was water. But, I live in Sydney now, and we don't argue about water because we've got plenty of it. But we had everything we wanted. And we were lucky like that. And moreover, we had good government. Up until 2007, we had good politicians who actually gave a damn and were acting in the best interests of the Australian people. And they weren't run roughshod by the bureaucracy.
Yeah,
and
we had.
That's what,
and it doesn't. Sorry to pause you on that point because I've got to make a very big fact here that it doesn't matter which side of government which side of politics you sat on. We went through a very, very good run from the Hawke era right through to the right through to when Rudd took over.
Look, we had a good run for 100 years, mate. At the end of the day, the politicians that served in the interests of the people and served in the interest of their constituents and along the ideological lines of their parties. The labour movement supported workers. That's what they were there for. Sad to say, I don't think they do today. They're more interested in virtue signalling and all this other nonsense that they carry on about. And then both sides are just as bad as each other. And you can see, and people know that. But the point about lucky country, is we were so lucky with everything that we didn't have to care. And our apathy got the better of us. That very laid back Australian sort of attitude that she'll be right. Don't worry. The country takes care of itself. Everything takes care of itself. Don't worry about it. Just go to the beach if you're fine. Right? That doesn't wash anymore. And, there's an old saying that if you don't take an interest in politics, politics takes an interest in you. I say that ad nauseum because it's true. And we're at a point now where it's almost too late, for people to take an interest because we are literally trying to turn around the Titanic. It's so far gone because the government and the people that are making the decisions rely on Australia's apathy in order to just push this legislation and stuff through. And, you only have to look at the bills that are before the Parliament at the moment. You've got a national ID that's going to be being trialled as I think middle of next year. If anything, it might even be in by middle of next year. You've got the new censorship rules. I forget the name of the act, but ACMA, the Communications Media Authority, is going to be regulating online speech. So and it's under the guise of we're gonna basically shut down misinformation and disinformation. Who the hell are you to determine what is true and what is not true? This is 1984 shit. This is the government is effectively setting up a ministry of truth.
Yeah, right.
What's worse is the Liberal Party are now turning around going, this is nonsense. We shouldn't be doing that. Mate, it was your policy. This was a Morrison policy. Brought in under Fletcher, that moron.
Yeah.
Right? So, Labor's just picked up and run with it, mainly because they're bereft of any of their own ideas, other than the voice, which, that's another story altogether. But, free speech, no. Whatever we've got left, if anything, will be gone in a year's time.
It's shocking to think that, isn't it? Mm-hmm. Gone are the days where you could comfortably just, say your opinion, even at work. I mean, I work in a government department and I have to walk on eggshells, whereas 10 years ago, I could easily just, say, no, you know what, I don't believe in that. Now, and before we touch on the topic, Damian mentioned The Voice, which is a very hot topic at the moment in Australia. But before, a few years ago, we had the referendum on gay marriage, and was I to express...
Well, that wasn't a referendum.
Or the vote on whether it should be allowed.
I think the plebiscite, yeah.
Yeah, plebiscite, yeah. So, again, with that, if I was to express my personal opinion on gay marriage, whether it be, out of spite or whether it be a religious belief or whatever, I was frowned upon because within the government within the department I work in, they're all about, being socialists and
yes,
it doesn't fit their values. Well, if it doesn't fit your values, then I don't fit here. That's what it came down to. But hey, Damian, before we get into the next few topics, what I want to touch on, just something you mentioned earlier around the George Pell stuff and all that. And, in your words, how do you find the current status of, I guess, government and Australian society and the way that men are treated as compared to the opposite sex? Now, when I ask that, I'm talking not so much, just on the health and all that, but it seems to me that men can easily now be accused of anything without any proof that something has happened.
Well, unless they identify as women.
Yeah, that's right. Unless exactly. But like we've recently
that's my defense, to be honest. If I ever get accused of anything, I'm just going to identify as a woman, because they'll put me in a women's prison. Although that's probably not an intelligent thing to do, because I'll probably get raped by another man who's in there who's also pretending to be a woman. You're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't. Look, I don't think Australia is in a great place. I don't think the West is in a great place. But, and this is no reflection on South Australia, but you guys are a little bit behind what's going on. If you have a look at what's going on, I mean, I live in Darlinghurst in the middle of Sydney, which is sort of, this is where Mardi Gras is. Mardi Gras literally goes past my apartment every year. The locals call the area "Darling, it hurts." To give you an idea of the sort of people that live around here.
So
but
you're not the lube type of guy.
No, certainly not. Well, there's this area. It's actually quite funny. I don't know if how your listeners are going to appreciate it, but you got Potts Point, which they call Puffs Point, and you got Slurry Hills, Darling, it hurts, and what's the other one? There's another one around here somewhere that there's basically all the sort of the LGBTIQ alphabet people all live in this area, and you talk about men. How's Australia treating men? They're not treating them any better than they're treating their women at the moment. You only have to look at Moira Deeming in Victoria, the Liberal MP who dared go to a women's rights march and was expelled from the Liberal Party. How dare she support women's rights? Where you talk about men competing in women's sports as trans athletes and all that sort of stuff. Mate, I don't think it's exclusive to men. I don't think the problems in the West are exclusive to men anymore. Men are certainly treated like shit, especially in the family courts. I mean, we know that. Any accusation of any assault is enough to bring down a man. You only have to look at that case of
like the Higgins case.
The Higgins case. She identifies as Aboriginal now, which is fantastic.
Oh wow!
That just proves my point. I think it was in the paper a couple of days ago.
Yeah, so
it just proves my point. The whole world's gone topsy turvy, mate. And the problem is, a lot of these problems are being imported from the United States, right? That's just a cesspool of shit over there, and we're stupid enough to import their problems. I mean, Black Lives Matter. That ended up in Australia. And you've got all these university kids running around like fuckwit, throwing like mud pies at statues of Captain Cook in the middle of Sydney, right? Screaming Black Lives Matter, Black Lives Matter. And, we're standing there watching them as spectators, and next to me is an Aboriginal guy going, what are they doing? Like, we don't get it because we didn't have slavery here, right? The whole concept doesn't even exist here. So the problem is we're importing all this shit from the United States, whether it's about the patriarchy, whether it's whatever, right? And then somehow it finds its way into the institutions. It finds its way into the legal system. It finds its way into the bureaucracy. And we're all kind of sitting back going, hold on, what the fuck just happened?
Yeah.
Because if you blink for a minute, you miss it. There's a new topic out. Now they're shutting down, you've got all these bookstores, that are promoting these, I don't know if you're seeing it in South Australia yet, but there's these books that are aimed at 4 and 5-year-old kids, teaching them literally illustrated books. I mean, my magazine
not the Yumi Steins ones.
I don't know what mate, I haven't read them, to be honest. You know more about them than I do. They're teaching kids about anal sex and rimming and
mate. There was a big deal about it because they were being sold in bloody Big W in the kids' book section. Yeah, we spoke about that last week.
Big W pulled them. Thank God for that.
Yeah, same here. It was a massive controversy. I mean, my kids, every Saturday we go for a trip to Big W, and they love looking through the book section. If they were to come across something like that, mate, I would burn the fucking store down. That shit is not for a 5 and a 7-year-old boy to know how to suck another kid's dick.
Yeah, and this is the problem. Again, it's all coming out of the United States, right? Which has just become Babylon as far as I'm concerned. And it's finding its way here. It's finding its way into the education system. My kid's at a private grammar school, and he's only 4 years old. He's in the preschool there. He's been there for 2 years. And when he was 3, he's 4 now. He's about to turn 5. But when he was 3 and a half, he came home, and believe it or not, we don't actually talk politics in the house. One, because I try and leave my work at work, and 2, because my wife hates it. We try and keep it light. So there's no way he would have heard this from me. But he came home from school, and they had just come back from some NAIDOC week sort of ceremonial burning or something like that the Aborigines do. And he said, Daddy, did you know that white people are very bad for stealing the black people's babies?
Oh.
And I mean, we'd have never even used the word white person in the house, let alone black person. We just don't talk like that, right? If anything, if I talk about superheroes one more time, I'm going to shoot myself in this house. I mean, we don't talk about anything other than whatever interests him. He's an only child, right?
Yeah.
So the fact that they're teaching them that shit, at 3, to hate your country, to hate your skin color, to feel guilty, and then he comes home a few months ago, having been read a book called "My Shadow is Purple" or "My Shadow is Pink" or something. Teaching kids that it doesn't. You may not necessarily be the gender to which, your genitals don't define your gender, or whatever it is that they're teaching them.
How the hell is...
but this is the point. He's 4 years old. He doesn't know what his genitals do. He knows his willy is for weeing. That's it. And then when he's done with that, he goes and plays with his Iron Man toys. You understand? Kids are kids. It's a bit like it's bad enough they've got Pornhub to contend with when they start coming across that shit way too early. When we were younger, we had magazines. And VHS, porn tapes, which you couldn't get your hands on if you wanted to
I had
anyway.
the magazines I found in my dad's garage.
Everybody found them in the dad's garage. One of the best things about being editor-in-chief of Penthouse, I used to love it because you go to these political functions and you introduce yourself and people look and they see your name tag says Penthouse Magazine. And naturally all the guys there start living vicariously through you. And it didn't matter who they were. It didn't matter I used to ask them all the same question. When they start playing coy, I go, you know what? I bet you remember the first time you ever laid eyes on a Penthouse magazine, right? And every single one, and I can tell you some very, very famous people that I've said it to, they'd look at you and they go, yeah, I do actually. I was in my dad's garage, and they start telling you the story, right? Because it was a rite of passage. It was your learning. You understand? And you were old enough to look at it and go, oh my God, I'm actually aroused by this. Okay?
Oh, too good.
My kid still sees my wife in the shower. He doesn't think anything sexual of it.
No, of course
He's
not.
only 4, for God's sake. Why are they teaching them to lick another kid's asshole and call it rimming? You understand? So to answer your question, look, I don't think it's the case of men being shit on anymore. I think that when we know that they are, and I don't think the system is getting any better for men. I think women are now starting to suffer at the hands of men as well, especially ones that, put on a dress and call themselves women. The fact that you can have Senator Alex Antic from South Australia sit in Senate estimates and look at the head of the Department of Health in the eye and say, what is a woman? And the head of the Department of Health can't actually answer the damn question. A human adult female. Very simple answer. He goes into this long prose about what is a woman and how people can identify. No, that's not the case, mate. And all of this shit's coming out of the United States.
It's scary, very scary times that we're living in. And, we've often mentioned it here on this podcast that, we are of the belief and true fact that men have a penis and women have a vagina, and that is it. That is it. And in the very, very rare case, there are people that are born with both. But that's very rare. It's men have.
But no one. But mate, if people want to dress as a woman, there's been cross dressers for years, right?
Cross dressers, drag queens. That's
Lola. Remember that? Walks like a woman and talks like a man. Great song, right? And no one cares.
That's a lifestyle, though. That's not. That's just something that people did as a lifestyle, like a after hours lifestyle. Would I'd say. By day, they were a man, and by night...
I don't care. If you want to dress as a woman, good luck to you. And you know what? Most Australians, for all their faults, are actually really easygoing people and fairly understanding. Okay? They don't take this shit as seriously, as they do in other parts of the world, especially the United States. There's some pretty fundamentalist thinking over there, right? If you went, look, typical Aussie, okay? You sit in the pub with your mates, right? You get up to go take a piss, right? This 6-foot black thing in a dress walks in, next to you at the urinal, right, flops out this fucking big 8-inch thing and starts pissing through the dress, right, what are you going to do? Are you going to insult the guy? Are you going to hit him? Or are you going to zip up and go back to your mates and go, mate, you should have seen what I just saw. This 6 foot, mate, look, he's coming out now. Check it out. Look at this guy in the dress, right? That's Aussie. That's how we are. The problem is they've started rubbing it in our faces, and you've had all these institutions that have signed up to it for whatever stupid reason. I don't know who's behind it, but it's very well scripted. It's almost too well scripted for it. This is not an organic movement, what's happening at the moment, right? And it's being forced onto people, and as a result, it's causing division. And people are looking at it going, mate, you know what? You want to dress as a woman, be my guest, but keep that shit away from my kids.
Oh, absolutely. That's why can we not allow kids to just be kids?
Well,
why is society trying to change that? That they have to rub it in a kid's face that bloody young?
Well, that's the education department, and you want to be asking the education department. But I mean, at the end of the day, private schools get funding from the government. They're signing up to the New South Wales Department of Education is an absolute disgrace. Thank God we got Mark Latham here in the New South Wales Parliament. He's fantastic, and he gives them the absolute shits, constantly asking questions, doing inquiries, fighting on behalf of concerned parents.
Is he still One Nation?
Yes, he is, yeah. Actually, I had lunch with him about 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago.
That's one bloke I'd love to have a bloody beer with, that's for sure.
He's funny. He's funny. We get along quite well, actually. But he's got balls on him.
He's fantastic. He always has been.
Yeah, look, I didn't like him when he ran against Howard. I thought he was a bit of a bully boy and whatever, but I think he grew into his skin a little bit after that. And, mate, look, if you asked me back then if I was ever going to be friends with him, the answer would have been no.
Yeah.
But
I guess he's one of the not so many cases of people switching sides.
Well, I think his values have always been the same. And, I think it's the old Reagan thing where, I didn't leave the Democrats left me. I think Labor just kept shifting to the left. In fact, it's quite funny because when we had lunch the other day, we were talking about history. And I said, you've been involved with the party for a long time, Labor Party. At what point do you think the shift changed? Because my family was very Labor too. You know my family in South Australia. We come from a very long line of Labor supporters. I was the turncoat, if anything. I went the other way. And my uncle used to call me the white sheep of the family. And he was he got an honorary life membership to the bloody Labor Party. But Latham said, he goes, it was at the 94 convention, Labor convention or whatever they called it, where they basically introduced quotas. And Keating got up and everyone was dancing on tables and whatever. And they basically said that Labor is now going to have quotas in the party to make sure that there's an equal representation of women. And, we're no longer going to be a meritocracy. And he said that was the beginning of the end. He said, I started seeing it shift at that point. And he said, I tried to turn it around, but, they wouldn't have it. They wouldn't have it. It just went woke from about 94 onwards.
Yeah, right.
Which is interesting.
Yes, it's very interesting. It's fascinating the way that things just change. So much has happened in the last few years that we can sit here all night and talk about it. But I know one thing that you're definitely really keen to touch on, and I believe you're doing a little bit of work on it. I'll be honest, I don't have much understanding about it, but give us a bit of a rundown on The Voice, because all I know is that they're trying to implement something which we already have. And from the way that I'm reading it and the way that I'm understanding it, it's going to cause further and bigger divisions here in an already broken Australia.
Yeah, I don't know about keen. I was actually trying to avoid the topic myself, given how much I have to talk about it during the day. It's the Voice is a referendum to effectively alter the Constitution to not only recognise Indigenous Australians, but also give them a representative body, which is embedded in the nation's birth certificate, to make representations not only to the Parliament but also to the Executive, which is the government of the day, on all matters that concern Aboriginals. And in order for it to pass, the Prime Minister needs a majority of Australians in a majority of states. Now, referendums 90% of the time fail in Australia. I think we've only ever had 7 successful ones, and 3 of them, I think, were under Whitlam. I'm not sure. I forget now. But I don't think this is going to get up. And I think the reason for it is because there's no detail around it. And I think they're trying to guilt Australians into voting for it. And it's not going to work. And I think the government, and specifically Albo, has misread the electorate. I think both sides of Parliament are misreading the electorate at the moment. I don't think they understand who their voter bases are anymore. And I think that's reflected in the when you look at the primary vote of both the major parties at the last election. I think Labor got just under 33% and Liberal just under 37, 36 point something. That's an absolute atrocity. And the fact that Labor's actually ruling with 33% of the vote is just beyond me. I've never seen
obviously
that.
That's because of the Green vote lifting as well.
But they're misreading the temperature, mate. People didn't vote for Albanese. They didn't want him. They did. And the fact that, no one wanted a Morrison. Fuckwit. We got rid of him in a hurry after what he did to the country with COVID. But I think Albanese is misreading the electorate on this one, and I think it's going to fall flat on its face, and we're going to waste $100 million. That's what it's going to cost to actually build to actually do the referendum.
I'm still trying to figure out what Albanese has achieved in his 1 year as Prime Minister. I still don't know.
Well, mate, he's achieved about as much as what Morrison achieved, which is 3/10 of fuck all.
Yeah. But
we haven't had good leadership since Howard.
Yeah, exactly. But the one thing that I'm really intrigued about is that on the no side, we have high-profile Indigenous Australians that are actually campaigning no.
Well, because look, the thing is, this thing is fraught with danger, and it's not going to help the people that they're saying it's going to help. We spend billions and billions of dollars. I think it's $43 billion a year on Aboriginal programs, something like that. I forget the exact number. Every year, and we're still no closer to closing the gap. Putting this very expensive referendum to create this body that's going to make, when you look at the way they've worded it, make representations to the Parliament and to the government on all matters concerning Aborigines. Mate, foreign policy concerns Aborigines. They're citizens of Australia. Everything that happens in government and in Parliament concerns the Aboriginal people, just like it concerns me and you.
Mm.
Now, I don't have an issue with a preamble under Section 9 of the Constitution, as John Howard suggested with Tony Abbott, that says something, and don't quote me exactly, but I think Australia has an Indigenous past, a British settlement, and a migrant character, something like that. Just to acknowledge that they were the first Australians. That's what the original referendum was supposed to be under the Howard era, right? And I think most people support that. There's no real problem with that. But to create a body of unelected people, which is effectively a third chamber of Parliament, to make representations so they can have an opinion on policy. I mean, it's hard enough to get anything approved in Canberra as it is. What are we going to do? We're going to have to wait for this Aboriginal body now to sit there and have a corroboree every time we want to pass some sort of legislation that they can argue has an effect on the Aboriginal people. And then what happens if they don't listen to them? This is where the danger comes into it. You know, they could challenge it in the High Court. The High Court is there to interpret the Constitution. That is what the High Court does, right?
Yeah.
So if they write this very loose amendment to the Constitution, right, there could very well be a lawyer's picnic every time the Voice body doesn't like whatever the government or the opposition is doing on a particular bill, and they want to make representations and they want to make sure that their voice is heard, you know, it's going to get held up in the High Court, potentially.
Mm.
Now, that's what a lot of legal experts are saying, you know. And the thing is, people, they're not stupid. There's no detail around this. And, you know, they're trying to get this thing approved on the vibe, you know, very, you know, like the castle.
Yeah.
You know, it's Marbo, it's the vibe, it's whatever. And you're a good person if you vote yes, and you're a racist if you vote no. Well, no. No is not the N-word. Not in this country. Right? And I think a lot of people, I think that, you know, the polls are certainly showing that the yes vote is losing. And I think it's going to lose by considerably more than what the polls are saying. I think there's people lying to pollsters the same way that they lied to pollsters at the last election, and certainly the same way they lied to pollsters in the United States when they asked them, do you support Donald Trump? Most Trump supporters say no.
Yeah, right.
That's why he's never ahead in the polls. Right? And there is only, if you look at, there's a little beaver with a bow tie, runs a polling company called Trafalgar. He's the only one that said Trump was going to win in 2016. And it's because of the way he was asking the questions. It's like he was asking people, not how are you going to vote, how do you think your neighbors are going to vote? And but I was actually telling them the correct answer. And as a result, he turned around and he said, yep, Trump will win Pennsylvania, he'll win Wisconsin, he'll win Michigan, blah, blah, blah. And he did. And it's the same thing here. A lot of people have had enough of being tormented. They've had enough of being ridiculed and berated for their political views, just like you. You can't have an opinion, as you say. And so when someone rings them up and says, you know, you're going to vote for the Voice, yeah, probably. But when they go into that polling booth and no one's looking, they're going to vote no.
Oh,
certainly in Queensland, South Australia, and Western Australia, I reckon.
Oh,
and I think New South Wales is a sleeper.
Queensland by far is a very conservative state, and I think South Australia is not that far behind. Sydney, New South Wales, and Victoria are probably the most left-wing states, in my opinion.
No, look, Victoria is. I think New South Wales is a sleeper. I think New South Wales will end up voting no on this. Don't underestimate. See, you've got to remember as well, 50% of Australia is now of a migrant character. So 50% of Australia is either born overseas or has a parent who was born overseas.
Yeah.
Right? And a lot of those people come from Greece, Italy, Lebanon, Syria, Vietnam,
India.
India. Yeah. All very conservative places, culturally conservative places. People that were, made fun of, ridiculed in the early days of their settlement here in Australia over the last 50 years. And people that are very proud of their own heritage and feel sorry for the Aboriginals, but at the same time don't feel guilty, right? They don't have the white guilt. Because as a Greek, right, I mean, I've got mates that are Aboriginal. Warren Mundine's a very good friend of mine, right? One of the people you speak of, who's leading the No campaign. And we get along like a house on fire. But I don't feel guilty for what happened to his people. Because while there was other white people here killing off Aborigines 100 years ago, my family was back in Greece being killed by Turks.
Mm.
So the issue is that they're trying to put this guilt and this shame on the electorate to guilt them into voting yes for this thing, right? Where 50% of the country's looking and going, don't look at us. We didn't do it. We just got here.
Yeah, yeah.
So they're misreading the electorate in a big way. And that's why I don't think it's going to get up. And there's a lot of those immigrants in New South Wales, especially Western Sydney.
Oh, good old Blacktown.
Oh, and the rest of them.
Yeah, it's just interesting. The current government of the day just always tries to push, what they want onto the people, but the people aren't that stupid. The people definitely are
they're not
stupid.
No, you're a fool if you underestimate the voter, especially the Australian voter. Australians are pretty streetwise; they're not stupid.
Yeah.
And they can smell bullshit a mile away. In the old days, they used to call it as well. Up to 10, 15 years ago, we used to call bullshit when we saw it. We're too afraid to do that now. And I miss that Australia. I really do.
Yeah, that's exactly what I mentioned earlier. 10 years ago, I could be in my workplace and I could, perk up and talk my own opinion and say it as it is and all that. And I'd have no one giving me backlash or no one telling me they'd fight with me on their opinion, and we'd have a really good, healthy argument on something or whatever the topic of the day was. Whereas now I have to walk on eggshells around my workplace because if I say the wrong thing that I believe is right and the department or the workplace doesn't think it's right, I'm easily going to be marched out the door.
Probably.
Yeah.
Yep. And it's only going to get worse, mate. You mentioned it right at the outset, I'm not on Facebook. That wasn't a public post that got me booted off. That was a private message. I sent a private message to someone about the efficacy of the vaccine. And Facebook said that I'd posted content that was against their community standards because I questioned the efficacy of the vaccine. And I continue to do so.
Yeah. And look look what this vaccine has done to us here in Australia. All those people that were banned from going to work lost their livelihood because they refused to take this vaccine, only for now to come out, the government coming out saying, you know what, it wasn't really effective anyway.
Oh, yeah. And don't worry, it's going to get a lot worse.
I'm waiting for the next pandemic.
I forget the next pandemic. Mate, they're not going to need it. There's going to be enough people dying from this vaccine that they won't actually need to do another pandemic. Trust me on this. I think that what you're going to find now and the evidence that is coming out. I read some statistics the other day. I was horrified. But basically, 20%. The statistics I was reading coming out of the same science journals that supported hydroxychloroquine and ivermectin. Basically everyone that's told that stuck to that particular story. The evidence that's coming out of Europe now is actually scary as hell. Basically, anyone that's had 3 or more of these particular shots, 20% of those people may not have a life expectancy of longer than 5 years.
Wow. 3 or more.
3 or more.
Wow.
Now, who knows if that's true or not, but it would not surprise me. And the fact that, the government has got a lot to answer for. Not just our government, but governments all over the world.
Worldwide. Worldwide. The WHO is the one to answer, most of the questions, and why the governments have all backed onto the World Health Organization's bullshit and all the lies that they've been spinning out. But I mean, again, another point. Look at how many healthy, fit athletes are just dropping dead.
Oh, mate, it's a drinking game now. Seriously, every time you watch a particular game or a sport, it's a drinking game. Every time someone drops dead, you do a shot. Yeah, it's that common. It's incredible.
Crazy.
I'm not vaccinated. I refuse to get it. I've sat around enough political tables and environments to know bullshit when I see it. And the minute I saw that thing come out, I looked at my wife. I said, I'm leaving. I'm telling you, don't touch that shit. There's something going on here, and I don't like it. It's not a conspiracy. It makes no. I mean, and the damage it's done to the institutions. The Therapeutic Goods Administration in Australia had an amazing reputation. because of how strict we are on medicines that we allow the Australian people to take, right? And what's available in America, you can get medicines in America that aren't available here sometimes ever. Sometimes it takes an extra 5 or 10 years for them to become available in Australia, right? Because of how strict the TGA is. Yep. And the fact that they just let that one through, you know, that to me, I think that's done so much damage to their credibility.
That was an order.
Of course it was an order. But from whom?
Well,
who gave that order? Was it the same people that are giving the order to teach homosexual sex to 3-year-olds?
True.
Just a question. You never know the answer.
Yeah, exactly. No, we'll never know the answer. But it's just unfortunately something that we're still living with right now. Hey, Damian, just to wrap us up, give us a bit of a lowdown. You gave me some news before. You're into you're currently working with something that you once worked with. I attended a couple of the shows that you did in the early days and bought some
Turning Point.
Some big speakers.
Yeah.
So, give us is it public news, or can you give us a bit of a rundown on what you're working on at the moment?
So, Turning Point's bringing out Donald Trump Jr. For a speaking tour. That was supposed to be earlier this month, but the government sat on his visa and didn't issue it until 24 hours before he was ready to fly, so we had to postpone. So he's likely to come out end of September now. We'll be announcing that in the next couple of days.
Excellent.
So he's coming out with, I'm bringing out Nigel Farage as well, the Brexit guy.
Oh, geez.
Nigel I brought out, he's been out here twice with me before.
Yeah.
And we get along like a house on fire. He's fantastic, and he's now fighting a massive battle because he's been debanked. Where the bank issued him, there's a massive case going on at the moment in the United Kingdom, where he was effectively sent a letter from his bank saying, we're closing your account. There's nothing he could have done about it. There was no numbers he could call, no one he could talk to about it. It's just, it was over. And he ended up getting a copy of his file from the bank that showed that it was because of his political views. And so now he's launched this massive campaign. The CEO of the banking group, Coots, resigned. The CEO of NatWest, that owns the bank, Coots, has resigned in disgrace. And basically, he's just scalping them all one by one. So he's coming out. He's coming with Don. That's going to be great. Alex Antic is on the tour with us as well. And then, look, we've got some big names, hopefully for next year. No, we're not going to announce anything yet, but we've got some good speakers coming out. So
is Trump Jr. coming to Adelaide?
No.
Oh,
we were going
Adelaide,
to.
We were going always misses out.
No. I actually wanted him in Adelaide because I promised a couple of high-profile friends down there, no names, that big fat Greek property developers. I'll let you worry about who that might be. And I said that I'd bring him, and we locked in the convention centre and whatever. And then they turned around and they said, "Oh, look, we're going to have to charge you an extra $50,000 for security, and we're going to have to do this, and we're going to have to do that." The whole thing just became unfeasible. And I said, "Look, you charge. I'm not even paying for security, extra security in Sydney. We've got 1 per 100. That's plenty." And they said, "No, that's not how we operate." Blah blah blah. And in the end, it just became unfeasible, so we canned it. So we're doing a private show in Sydney, and then the main show in the arena in Sydney. So yes, Adelaide unfortunately misses out once again. But that's not through a lack of trying. We did try and get him to Adelaide. He did have the time for it. But the convention centre, who was the only venue that would play in, decided to increase the cost requirements for security. So
yeah, right. I might have to board an aeroplane and come to Sydney then. Can't miss out on this one.
No, you'll enjoy it. I'm opening for him too, so I promise you it'll be a good show.
Excellent.
Let's make it a boys' trip. I'm coming too.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
we'll take
you're both welcome. Off when you're off air, let me know. I'll organise some tickets for you. I'll get you some good ones because all the VIPs are sold out.
Oh, nice. Excellent. Damian, thank you so much for your time. Really, really appreciate everything that you've spoken about tonight. Definitely a lot to go away with and think about. It's good to have someone to discuss, anything and everything with, especially on the political sphere.
No, my pleasure, guys. Anytime.
Damien, the only reason I've been quiet, mate, is because I'm blown away, mate. I don't know too much about these sort of topics, and my eyes have just like opened. So
he's been sitting here across the table from me, and every time you've said something, he just, okay, how do I explain it? Think of a 5-year-old and you're about to give him a lollipop, right? And his eyes just go from, little Chinese eyes to fuck wow eyes,
Fair enough. Look, you're very kind, both of you. But this is seriously. It's actually, I've forgotten more than I've ever known. To be honest, it's one of those situations where when you live and breathe it, it kind of comes naturally. I sit with people and I have that reaction too. Sitting with people like Alan Jones, Mark Latham, brains like that is just incredible. I think the best thing. You kind of, for me, moving from Adelaide to Sydney, you go from being, in the sort of top 10% to the bottom 10% in the political world very, very quickly. And it's just an eye-opener. And there's so many issues that, we just need to cover before this whole country goes to shit. So, I appreciate it. Thanks, guys.
No, always great talking to you. Thank you very much, Damian. And I'll be in touch with you soon to get a couple of those tickets, eh?
No, please give me a call anytime.
Cheers.
Thank you.
Awesome.
This is
Bloke Spit.
Okay, I think I've lost Petros there for a second. Do you want to tell us why you're pissing yourself laughing?
That is the best error I've ever seen on in any podcast I've ever done. So you start talking. And I'm looking and I can see the record button's not red. I see it green. So I thought, I point to it and you're like, you shake your head at me and I'm just like, oh, here we go. Like, he's not getting it. So I messaged you and I don't know why I messaged you because I could have just told you on the mic.
Yes,
but we weren't recording.
We're sitting half a meter away from each other and he SMS'd me to tell me that I'm not recording when he could have just told me. Oh, mate, Bloke Spits, hey, I just wanted to touch base on your reactions, your facial reactions in that segment with Damo.
Yep.
I've never seen someone with such wide eyes. It's like you were on coke or something, or even fucking ecstasy.
Tell me.
You were just sitting there in awe going, mate, I have no fucking idea what he's talking about. You were like the Wog Boy in that scene in the first movie where he's talking about why it's important to get the extra prawns on the pizza. Hey, you. Yes, you can have the extra prawns. And then he turns around and goes, mate, they loved it, but I have no fucking idea what I was talking about. That's exactly what your face looked like.
Mate, I'm not going to lie. Maybe 99% of that I just did not understand. The only percent that I understood was when he said about COVID. And that's the only thing.
Yeah.
But, wow, that was amazing, though.
Definitely not the way I expected it to go. I thought we'd talk a little bit more about porn and all that, but little did I know that he no longer works in the porn industry. But again, he touched on a few things and that. And, wow, there's a lot of shit going on.
There's
a lot of shit going on.
Especially for like someone like myself who, I don't really read too much in politic world, let alone in Australia, just general, like what those sort of just general, I guess, topics that these guys go out to lunch and talk about for 7 or 8 hours. Like I've never been, I don't know.
But has that opened up your eyes a little bit more
100%.
with the yes and no vote that's
100%.
happening at the moment?
Yeah. Yep.
Like The Voice or whatever it's called. I mean, to me, when I hear The Voice, I think of Channel 9.
Me too.
4 judges and 1 singer on stage, But it's really interesting, isn't it?
Yeah, 100%.
It's a very odd world that we're living in right now. And we're expected to change the constitution over something that we do not fucking understand.
Yeah.
Even the people that are putting it up don't understand what they're putting up. So, it makes a... Anyway, look, I don't really have much bloke bits. Is there anything that's struck out to you this week?
Do you know what? Talking about blokes, one thing, and look, I know it's going to go back to sport, but just a couple of things. The first one being, did you know that David Beckham arrives every day at 7:30 a.m. to Miami to watch Messi train? I just didn't even know. And the reason he does that is because he still thinks that he's dreaming. So that's pretty. That would be look. I mean, that would be an absolute fascination of a lifetime to have. A stature of Messi at your club, let alone you're the owner of the club, and you don't believe it. So, but I have seen as well that Kim K's been making a few appearances. I think that she might fancy Messi. Kimmy, just to let you know, I'm here in Adelaide. I'm in the boardroom at the moment, and you're more than welcome to come and see me do this podcast than worry about Messi, who is probably 10 times.
I don't know. Kim K is quite. How's it going?
What do you mean? What do you mean? How are you going? As in what way? Now we're using the Australian term here. How are you going? As in
she's
not
a beaut,
bad,
juicy fruit.
Yeah.
I mean, look, my wife absolutely loves watching that Kardashians.
Keeping up with the Kardashians.
Yeah, that one.
I watch it every.
Is that what it's
myself.
called?
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah, I know why you watch it.
Yeah.
For the same reason, probably other blokes watch Pornhub.
Yeah.
But she definitely is one of a kind. I think her and all her sisters. Just have that. I don't know what's the tall one called.
Chloe,
the one that was that had a baby without a dad. I don't know. Not the one that married the fucking tattoo guy.
No. That's
the other one.
There's
cool. 3 sisters, isn't there?
Yeah, there's more.
And then there's the two half sisters.
Yeah. Chloe's the oldest.
Yeah, so Chloe's the oldest. Yeah. Is that the one that recently had a baby in like the last season or some shit like that?
Yeah.
Yeah, that one. She pisses me off. She looks like a man. Yeah. But the other two are all right.
Yeah. Look, Courtney and...
So wait, Kimmy is what? The middle one? The youngest one?
No, I reckon she might be older than Courtney, I reckon.
Fuck, it embarrasses me that I'm talking about the Kardashians.
I love it.
And don't they have a brother as well?
Yes, they do. Yeah,
Rob Kardashian or some shit.
He's the the dad of families. I think that's him. He's the dad of.
But he's not in the series, right?
He was in season 1, 2, and I reckon maybe up to season 3. Yeah, he was in it. So
how many seasons are there?
Oh, heaps. There'd have to be 10, I reckon, by now for sure.
Fuck me, Petros.
And you
watch this shit.
Oh, I love it. You know what the best part about Kim K is? I don't understand why this bitch won't marry me, because she doesn't even have to change her last name initial. It's just going to stay the same. So, what a win-win that would be for her. That's the first part of the. I just want.
And how would your wife feel about that?
Nah. Anyway, yeah. So basically, all of this has now ventured from.
Wait. Can I ask? Have you ever discussed hall passes? As in, is there someone you have discussed with your wife about if you had the opportunity, you would go for it and take it?
Nah.
I have.
Nah. Well, yeah?
I have.
I know that there was a reason for this question. Tell me.
No, I'm just asking.
Tell me.
Have you?
Tell me.
Okay. No, well, my wife clearly knows that if I was to have a moment with Jennifer Aniston...
Yeah, right.
There would be no wife. There would just be me and Jennifer Aniston.
So there'd be no wife and a life, and she's Greek, so you don't even have to worry about her getting baptized to marry her. Not bad gig you got.
And there you go. Jennifer Aniston wouldn't have to change her initials either, mate.
Yeah, right. There you go. There you go.
See,
hey, we're onto something tonight.
Smart thinking, hey.
What about this one? This was a pretty hot off the press topic of Monday, which was Buddy Franklin stepping down, retiring. Effectively, immediately. An absolute champion of the game, the first Indigenous player to kick 1,000 goals and the last probably player to ever kick 1,000 goals for the sport. But that's not what I was focusing on. What I focused on was that 19 seasons he played football, spanned between Hawthorn and Sydney. But I'm not sure if you remember, and this guy here is someone who is of a great leader and probably someone that we should look as a role model too when it comes to mental health. He had a stint of mental health where he took a step back from football. He had a couple of them. And to come back and not give up on the sport and to go out there and kick 1,000, to get that 1,000 mark that he wanted, probably, he knew that at one stage he was very close. But he was, on the sideline for mental health and whatnot. Unbelievable. Like, it's just...
He was a champion for mental health.
100%.
And I'm telling you, the biggest champions of mental health are the people that have gone through it themselves. Right? I think Buddy is by far one of the best athletes Australia has produced.
Look, and not just that as well. He's very...
In a way, he's our Australian version of LeBron.
He is. So
big built man.
Yeah.
And he knows how to hold his ground. He's been there for 19 seasons.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this is why I said I think that he should be a good role model to people that are thinking, whatever it is in your day job. That's his day job, football. Went through mental health, but still had the ability, capacity, power, strength, whatever it was. Probably reached out to a couple of mates and came back to reach that milestone of 1,000 goals, because at one stage it looked like he wasn't going to come back, and to do it, against the odds is unbelievable. And he's never, used anything like, from socioeconomic status or stuff like that to, blame, for this or that. He's just gone on with the job, and... Yeah, definitely put your hand up for a good role model.
One thing I definitely am inspired about him is that what you just said, he doesn't let external stuff get to him. He's there to do a job.
Yes.
And he's focused on that job.
Yeah.
That's what I love about him. I've never been a Hawthorn or a Sydney fan, but definitely you could say that I am inspired by Buddy and his path. So it will be sad to see a man of his stature leave the game, but 19 seasons in an AFL career
is
huge.
It's huge.
How many others have kicked 1,000?
There are others, but what it is that because the modern day game has just changed so vastly, and there are so many people now kicking goals and whatnot. The game is so fast as well. He's going to be the last to ever do it. And it's a little bit sad because I thought by Buddy, they're playing this week in the derby against GWS, and it would have been a great way, I think, to go out. Let alone, the sports bet odds probably would have favoured Sydney being Buddy's last game, and Buddy would have put on a good show. But unfortunately for him as well, he's got an ankle injury that he can't overcome. So, and they said that he won't play till next year. But probably I don't know.
All right.
Yeah.
Talking about good shows, right? Another man who knows how to kick a ball, Texas Walker.
Oh, the GOAT.
Can I just say, Saturday night was the ultimate night in my life when it comes to AFL and any showdowns. I don't know what it was about this weekend's showdown, but it completely was the most enjoyable game I have ever watched. I don't even care about 97, 98 grand finals. This here was the best show I have watched ever.
And that was probably because you guys were so backed against the wall as well. Port Adelaide had a full squad, and you guys had two big outs for you. And if you want to laugh, and you can go and fact check this with Alex Stammer. I said to him midweek at Titans, I said to him, for the Crows to win this week, Tex has to kick a minimum of 6 goals. And he looked at me and he goes, mate, what the fuck are you talking about? And I said to him, I actually think genuinely that if he stands up, he's going to be a force to reckon with on the weekend because his stature, that big body, he backs himself. And when he did that, the fend around Alir there to kick that running goal out from 50, Jesus, man, the guys they should build him a statue, mate. He's the goat of the state when it comes to kicking goals, mate. Well done to the Crows on the weekend, that's for sure, because they could have, look, they played 4 quarters, which we don't always get to see with them, but not just that, they really went up for the challenge against There
was no opportunity for the Power to come back.
But there was no. You know what the other thing is too, that don't, and because the Crows control the game so well. But let's talk about the most important thing was that there was no way that Port Adelaide should have fucking lost last week. There is no way. They were on a 0-2 run. I said after the Carlton game they go 0-4. Nobody believed me. No, they're not. The Crows won't beat them. I fucking oath the Crows will, because the Crows are closer to a premiership than Port Adelaide. Mark my words on it.
Big words.
Yeah, big words, but
words.
But you know what? Well done. You guys stood up and got the job done. So
now after last week's episode, I've had a lot of comments.
Yeah,
a lot of people going. It was a pretty confronting episode last week.
Yeah.
Stamati obviously opened up a lot about some personal issues that affects a lot of people. I have a lot of people in my life who are unable to conceive, and also I have a lot of people out in the community who I know who have been in similar situations.
Yeah.
So it was a very confronting, and I really appreciate all the comments that we've received on these things. A lot of people also mentioned, they go, Valandi, we know that you and Petros are really holding back. And I said, what do you mean? And they're like, well, I reckon you can let loose a bit more, and it would make your podcast go from here. Like, I'm showing you what but people can't see. Yeah. But like, let's say, from 90 to like 150%.
Yeah, right.
And I'm like, geez, okay, that's a bit full on.
We've told some full on stories.
I've got one eye open now, in case my wife decides to smack the shit out of me for stuff that I say on the pod. But mind you, she loves the pod. Every day she's messaging going, yep, I'm up to this part. I can't believe you said that. Or, oh my God, that was hilarious. Like, fuck, okay. But hey, it just shows that our podcast is moving.
Yeah.
It's going in the right direction.
Yeah.
We are talking about the things that are really, making people feel it.
Yeah.
We're talking from the heart, and we're talking from our ass as well at times. But it's been good. Last week was a very long episode. I'm hoping tonight's not going to be that long. We should try to limit our episodes to about an hour.
But I guess even earlier as well, you get someone who's so passionate about a topic, Damian, so passionate about the topic, and 45 minutes goes with your eyes closed.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's without us even saying, this or that yet. So
full on. And, again, what I loved about his talk was, although he tried to, link it back to men, he was open, and he said, I don't think in today's society that there is a difference between the men's problems and the women's problems, because we're, everything has just gelled in the wrong way.
Yeah, agreed.
Look, to finish off the podcast today, again, back to sport, definitely not men's sport, but Australia has just qualified to the round of 16, top of their table.
Unbelievable.
Of their group.
Unbelievable.
Against Canada. I mean, I can't believe it. Last Friday night, I was watching the game Thursday, I was watching going, there's no fucking way these chicks are going to progress now. And that's embarrassing for a host nation to drop
Go
down.
out and see.
But Sam Kerr didn't even play tonight, and the girls lifted. They won 4-0.
Wow.
4-0 against Canada, the Olympic champions.
Yeah, right.
So congratulations, and I hope they go far.
Yeah, me too. Well done to the girls and representing our nation. And it's a great thing, isn't it? Having the World Cup at our fingertips here.
I went to the game yesterday. Morocco versus South Korea. What a game that was. Oh, I went with my little boy.
Yeah.
And he loved it.
He was dressed in the Aussie colours, wasn't he?
He was dressed in the Aussie colours, but now he's apparently a Moroccan.
Is he really?
Yeah, I bought him a little Moroccan flag because he loved the Moroccan flag.
Yep.
And he apparently is Moroccan now.
Yeah, right.
So he's been waving it around all day today.
Yeah, right.
All right, guys, listen. Again, our socials, 2 Blokes in the Pod, at 2 Blokes in the Pod with the word 2, TWO, Blokes in a Pod, on Facebook, on Insta, and now on TikTok.
TikTok.
Yes. And you can also email us two blokes in a pod at gmail.com with all your questions, comments, feedback. I don't care if you want to say something that you don't like. Tell us.
We'll read it.
Tell us. We will read it.
And we're going to answer it too.
And we'll name you too. But, we will give you our live comment back. We want feedback. And I don't care how controversial it is.
Yeah.
You want us to be open? We will be open.
Yep, agreed.
Awesome. Petros, until next time.
See you later.